that's a win. That's what we're shooting for. I don't want to blend in with the marketplace. I don't want to be just another lead gen agency.
The harder the problem you solve, the more limited the competition.
Most of your marketing problems, like you running paid ads, you trying to get traction with getting prospects into your pipeline and getting them on sales calls, a majority of the problems that come from that are because of
what is the next nasty problem in the market that no one's figured out yet? What's going on, guys? So welcome to another Black Sheep Agency podcast. I got Joshua Johnston on here. No, we are not brothers.
We should be, though.
But we are, though. And
Stevie got all the good genes. That's what happened. He got the good hair, the good muscles, all that good stuff.
Hey, Josh can ball. There's no way I can keep up with Josh on the basketball court, so I'll give him that one. But at the same time, hey, Josh is actually a super intelligent human being when it comes to the agency space, and he really knows a lot deeper things and topics that most people don't talk about. And so Josh is the owner of HYDRA. They basically help higher level, high, mid, 7 and 8 figure agencies.
7-8 figure agencies is primarily who we work with through management consulting. So operations is really our main bread and butter.
And so today what we want to talk about is positioning. Basically, the way we see it is, so right now in today's day and age, anyone with a laptop and Wi-Fi can start an LLC and start an agency. With that being said, the droves of people coming into the agency space is probably at an all-time high. And the question you need to ask yourself is, how the hell are you going to stand out when this is such a saturated market? And I think Josh is an expert at this, so we're going to break that down. There's 5 ingredients to positioning that we want to talk about. And the first one ingredient of positioning is obviously how the marketplace perceives you, potential clients, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think the quote that kind of like constantly beats inside of my head when it comes to positioning is like, the easiest way to get inside of like a prospect's mind is being first, right? You think about all of the great products that have ever launched, throughout our lifetime. It's like, you think of like when the iPhone dropped, it's like, that was the first type of phone that came out that was like that, like a true smartphone, right? And so with that, it got a ton of traction because it was first to marketplace, right? And then eventually other phones started to follow, right? And other smartphones. And whether it was, just Apple's positioning or the lack of positioning on, Android or whatever it is, like Apple stayed ahead, right? Because they were first. Okay. Now, when it comes to the SMMA space, we're not going to be first. It's just not going to happen. There's saturated niches all over the place, but we can be positioned differently, right? And that is what gets us our traction, not necessarily being first in the space anymore. And so think about positioning in this way of like, hey, if you can't be first in it and no one's going to be first coming into this space, then you have to be positioned differently. And if you want to be positioned differently in the mind of your prospect, then you're going to have to probably speak a little bit different language. You're probably going to have to adjust your offer a little bit more and do the things that other people aren't doing, because the SMMA space, it's all copy paste, right? It's like we all look at what the digital oxes of the world are doing and we're saying, cool, how can we apply that to ourselves? Which is fine. It's a good framework to build off of, because obviously you guys have had a ton of success with your agency, but there has to be differentiators in there, because if we have 30, 40 different digital oxes, then it just becomes a commodity at that point. And if we have a commodity agency, there's no trust and rapport built with the people that we're trying to land as clients. So how can we shift what we're offering, even just speaking a slightly different language than the SMMA space is currently? Like if you look at our consulting firm, for example, it's like, we don't call it a coaching program. Why? Because there's a lot of coaching programs out there that teach SMMA owners, right? So we call ourselves a management consulting firm, right? That's what HYDRA is. Okay. And so for us, like, that was our way of like, hey, how can we position away from what all the other gurus are doing in the space, right? So we can stand out, and like, how can we work with higher level agencies, not necessarily the guys that are doing 20, 30K, which is totally fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with doing 20, 30K. It's awesome. That's a high success. But we wanted to be the elite level consultants, right? So we started working with the high 6-figure, 7, 8-figure agencies that needed to fix larger and larger problems, right? And so for us, like, yeah, we had to educate ourselves a lot more in depth to fix those types of problems, but it is a positioning that helps us dramatically, because when someone gets on a phone call with you and says, man, I don't even know if I can afford this, but I just wanted to see what it was about, that's a good place to be.
Yeah, I like that. So you're basically super niche. The way you guys are basically advertising yourself is, higher level consulting for a agency that is already met a specific threshold in growth, which already positions you immediately as someone who they're going to identify with, and they're going
Yeah.
to end up seeing you guys as the experts. And so I think the question everyone can ask themselves is, how are you guys going to present yourself to potential clients when they look at your company and that prospect immediately say, this is someone who definitely understands me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Well, it comes down to like that, like there's like an internal positioning and then an external positioning. So it's like, you have to ask yourself the question, like, what position do you want to own in the marketplace? Because what position you want to own and the position that you currently own are two totally different things. I want to be known as the number one management consulting firm in the world for service-based businesses, right? Like that's the goal. Is that what we are currently? No, unfortunately not. I wish that was the case. We'd be making probably a lot more money if that were the case, right? But that's the position we're building towards. That's the position we're trying to achieve. The position that we currently own, right? And this is just my personal opinion, is like, hey, we're known as a management consulting firm that focuses specifically on operations for 7 and 8 figure agencies. That's what we're known for currently. And that position doesn't need to change. It needs to mold over time, because what we're doing now isn't going to be the thing that gets us to what we want to own in the future of being the best management consulting firm in the world for service-based businesses, right? Because currently we're not that. There's much larger consultancies out there that help with those types of things, right? So for us, it's like that adaptability, that constant evolution of your positioning and continuing to create a higher tier. Like my favorite thing is when people get on the phone call with us and ask us, man, like, I don't even know if I can afford this, or I just wanted to see what it was about. It's like, that's a really good place to be in your positioning, when people are like, man, like, I need to work with these guys. I know we need to work with these guys, but can I afford it? Right? That puts you in a really good place to win.
Yeah. No, I like that. So it's basically like a stepping stone of positioning. You're just growing out of positionings into greater positions to eventually hit your overall goal. So if your goal as an agency owner is like, we want to be the number one growth agency for X industry, well, sure as hell, if you're in year one, that's not you right now. But what can you do in year one that you can own yourself, truly looking in the mirror and knowing, hey, we're actually going to master this position. And then as you continue to develop and innovate, you can go to that next level until eventually you might pull it off. Being that number one dog.
Exactly. And that's, we have a similar mentor in Judge Graham, right? We talk about Judge quite often. But I remember him helping us set up our market leader positioning for the first time. And he said, you need to start stating yourself as a market leader, right? Whether you are the market leader currently or not, you have to have that belief that you are and that you can deliver like a market leader, right? And so I remember creating these statements of like, for us, it was Welling Media. It's like, Welling Media is the market leader in e-commerce creative for 7 and 8 figure brands. Like I remember creating that statement vividly with Judge. And he's like, you have to believe you're a market leader before you're actually there, right? Regardless of you being it or not.
Love it. Let's talk about another, ingredient in positioning. I think one that kind of piggybacks off this is, how do your competitors perceive you?
Yeah.
Position.
Yeah.
Go on that.
Yeah. You're going to have to outgun some people, right? You're going to have to outgun people in this marketplace, because either you're going to be first to market, which is great. If you're first to market, man, you better go fast and you better go hard. But if you're not first to market, you have to have an understanding of like, what are the solutions that are currently out there and how can we position against them at a different angle, right? And so a lot of times people will come in, and like, this is just the nature of beginner entrepreneurs and SMMA space in general, is that we see something that's working for someone else, or we feel like, or we think that it's working for someone else, and then we just do a copy paste into our own business, which I don't think is wrong by any means, right? It's like, I think everyone takes pieces of knowledge from other businesses, other companies, and tries to adapt it into their own. But if you're speaking the same message as everybody else, it just becomes a commodity. Like no one's going to see you as differentiated. And say the agency that you copied, right, and you have a very similar position to, did a horrible job with a client, right? But your service is actually better, but you're positioned the same way as they are. why would they ever give you a chance if you came off exactly how they came off?
Yeah, we see a lot of that. That's basically what's happening right now in abundance, is like copy paste offer, copy paste ad, copy paste pain point, copy paste solution. Another like way I view positioning from a competition standpoint is like, write down on a piece of paper how you know your competitors, whether it's 3, 4, 10 of them. How do you want them to think about your company when they're internally talking to their team? Like, do you want them to be like, yo, these guys are crushing and they got shit dialed in, and I don't know what they're doing back there, but it's awesome. I mean, that to me is motivating too. Like, if we're talking about visualizing positioning in the marketplace for our clients, I'm also visualizing like, yo, I want everyone to know like we are cooking.
And
yeah,
I think people have to come to the realization for sure that most of your marketing problems, like you running paid ads, you trying to get traction with getting prospects into your pipeline and getting them on sales calls, a majority of the problems that come from that are because of how your competition markets and their lack of ability to deliver results for them, right? So it's like we're going up against people that have been burnt, people that have had lack of results, bad communication standards, right? So once again, like, not to beat a dead horse here, but if you're positioned the same way as your competition that is not doing a good job, then you're just going to be perceived as that. And it's going to be really hard for you to get conversations.
I also think like these people who are replicating down to the T, they obviously understand the what, like what to copy. Let's do this, this, and this and replicate. But the part that a lot of people don't understand is they don't understand the how behind it. And the people who was the initial pioneer in that messaging, in that positioning, obviously innovated to that and understand the how all that works. And so when you got this outsider just understanding the what, copycats it, they're going to fall on their face, because at the end of the day, if they don't know the how of why all that was done that way and why those, XYZ was stated, it's kind of hard to just copy, 5 years of internal innovation to,
for sure. Yeah. Oh, definitely. And it's like that positioning is also like a long game, right? It's like you can't just dip your toe in. You can't just copy your competitor and be like, cool, we're positioned now, right? Positioning is a long game. It's an accumulation of like how your service adapts, the new offerings that you're bringing into the marketplace, how you're communicating with clients. And, one of the best lessons I've ever learned is like creating intellectual property around how you do things within the business, right? And not like you're going to like trademark some intellectual property or something, but something that, once again, that language that you can use internally that's differentiated than whatever else is in the marketplace. So it's like, what language can we choose that will allow us to stand out differently from how we deliver our service, right? So a lot of people, will like, do you guys have like creative names for like how you deliver service at all? Like as examples? What are some of yours? Because I think this would be a good example for the audience.
Yeah. So like the system itself is the automated patient system, but even internally in the company, we have our own sales system, like the Digital Ox way, the 5-step process. Like we've mapped out things internally that the public doesn't get to see.
Yeah.
But we know that makes it that much easier for people to buy in and learn faster too.
Yeah. And that is the internal positioning and the external positioning, right? Like when you guys have the positioning figured out on both sides, that's when you just strike gold, right? Because one, you're perceived differently in the marketplace externally, but internally your team moves in a different way than anybody else, which is a huge factor, right? If you're going up against competition, say you get a client from another that came from another agency, right? Now they're in your ecosystem. The way your team moves, communicates, does things, fulfills for your client is going to be way different than the experience that they had somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
Because you have a specific, the Digital Ox way, right? That your team moves internally, a high set of standards that is required to be met by everybody on the team.
And I feel like just the buy-in, the organization of ramping people up and training people, when you really do start to build intellectual property and processes with names within the company at scale, this is what we found was like critical, especially for new hires. And like, you know, if you're always talking about the system, the process, and it has a name versus always saying like every ingredient, it gets messy. Always reflect back to like that process, that specific name in that process. Like for us, in part of our five-step process on the phone, it's called we extract the juice. Now, people looking on the outside would be like, what the fuck does that even mean? But internally, if you ask every one of our employees, like, yo, did he or she extract the juice? They're going to be like, no, he didn't. This is where he missed out. And so it's like beautiful to actually start to create this like internal intellectual type, you know, verbiage and property.
Exactly. And like, that's the stuff that becomes really heavy hitting in your positioning. So recommendation on that side, like if you guys haven't created intellectual property, like if you're just using like the common nomenclature, I think that's the right word for it, for like just how you're defining things within your company, externally, internally, right? Make a change, make a shift. Okay, get creative. Like your marketers, that's what we're here to do, is to get creative, right? I think too much like we put ourselves in this box of, well, let me just see what someone else is doing, and then I'll do that, right? And it's like we put ourselves inside of this box when we have this open world of creativity that we can utilize in our positioning. It's just we don't take the time to actually sit, think about it, and draw up intellectual property for our teams, for our marketing efforts.
I think this next one, it's definitely a little bit higher level, because I don't think people really have to start thinking about this until it actually becomes a constraint in the business and growing. But this is like, what is your positioning to potential employees in the marketplace when you're running ads on Indeed, when you're running ads on LinkedIn, you're running all these ads, marketing to get new employees, which if you don't know how to do that at scale to get to that next level, that will definitely be a constraint in you growing. So let's talk about positioning in terms of that aspect, which, you know, is definitely higher level.
Yeah. Well, I like to picture the end in mind, right? You know, you have your positioning really dialed in when you have people hitting you up on Instagram, on your Facebook Messenger, on Twitter, saying, hey, how do I work with you guys? Like, how do, like I don't even, like, I'll come and work for free. Right. It's like, and I'm sure you've had these instances before. We had them all the time at our agency of like, it seems like you guys are doing something really cool. Can I just like come by? Can I come hang out? Can I come like bring my camera and shoot with you guys? It's like, yeah, sure. Come hang. It's like, that's the type of culture. Right. And a lot of your internal positioning does revolve around culture, right? It's like developing a culture, documenting culture. I think one of the best things that we ever did with our agency is hire someone internally to shoot media for us. And to this day, that's the same person that shoots media for me in my consulting firm today. And it's like, that was such a key hire for us, because this was like back in the day, like this is when Gary Vee was really starting to hit his stride, right? And it's like all of us looked up to the Gary Vee. And so for us, like we were a creative studio. So we have cameras everywhere. We have the ability to shoot content whenever. And so for us, it's like, you know, we're shooting all the supercars, and we're shooting the 10,000 square foot warehouse that we have with our content studio and our media buying team. And our, you know, we have a whole bullpen of editors and, you know, the whole nine, right? It's like the what you would imagine as the quintessential agency spot, you know? It's like we have a huge Kobe Bryant mural hanging in the wall, but like that is all designed, right? And for us, having a culture or having a identity of being a cool and fun place to work will attract the best prospects to you, right? Because people want to enjoy the work. Like, of course, it's going to be tough. It's going to be hard work, but at the same time, it's like we're going to create a community and cultivate a employee culture that is really sticky and fun to be at. That people are going to come to us in droves without us really having to do much marketing. Now, eventually we did do some marketing for like very specific positions, but when you have people lined up and are willing to learn and come and do a free internship for 90 to 120 days just to learn the ins and outs of how to be a great marketer, how to create content at a high level, you have an unfair advantage in the marketplace when people come to you and they want to work with you, right? And that's why we focus on positioning. It's not just to land clients. It's to land your next best employee, your A players.
Which is literally like sometimes even now, like at the maturity level, you understand landing the next A player is even more valuable than landing the next whale client.
For
Because you're
sure.
you're looking like you're looking 2-3 years down that runway, and you realize the moment these positions map out, it's just the foundation is so set for just such a higher, growth volume wise.
Yeah.
But kind of like trying, acquiring new talent and employees is just like acquiring clients. So you obviously, you're just speaking about marketing the internal culture to the outside world via YouTube, Instagram, all the social media platforms. Another channel, obviously, we know sometimes we do have to use these paid platforms to make sure we're getting the inflow on these candidates, because you can't always expect referral organic growth.
Of
You
course.
do have that channel though. Like at Digital Ox, we have four employees that came through the YouTube channel. So that's kind of us showing me and what we do at Digital Ox. So we get constant candidates there. But when it comes to the paid side, one of the biggest factors that has helped us succeed is the fact that we have a lot of social proof in the marketplace for being a market leader that actually makes shit happen in terms of scaling our clients' businesses and getting real results. Google reviews, Inc. 5000, da 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 da. That to people who don't even know you yet is critical. We found, like, the moment they see all that, they're like, okay, legit.
Yeah.
Like Google reviews, Glassdoor, da 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 da. They go through all that, right? And so that has to be dialed in.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, once again, just to go back down the rabbit hole, it's like positioning is not just an external thing, it's also an internal thing, right? So it's like internally, how are you positioned with your team, right? How does your team even speak about you? Because your team will attract other people to the ecosystem, right? It's like, that's my favorite way to hire people, is normally through the people that are already internally. And then, of course, like if we need very specific positions, we hire externally. So it's like, if you're doing positioning right, and if you're treating your team in the best way possible, you're going to get the talent that you need, right?
Mm-hmm.
To harp on what you were saying as well, as like the Glassdoor reviews, they help. The Google reviews, they help. It's like, how does your team speak about your culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that is from the work that you do on positioning.
Yeah. I'd say, I forget someone who said it, but they were like if I walked up to 10 of your employees at the bar, all separate, and asked them, hey, who do you work for and how do you like it? What do you think they'd say? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like at a bar, super, probably, little laid back. What do you think?
A
Are
little
they going to say
loose.
like, man, like, I don't, it's cool. Like, or are they going to be like, yeah, I work for HYDRA. Literally love it. We this is what we do. Actually currently working on these, there's a big difference in how that response is going to be, whether they're
For sure.
promoting and advertising where they work, or whether they're trying to get on to the next conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Because you kind of hope that they're like, like, oh, like I'm also in that space. Oh, you should come work for us.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like just, you have like a recruiting arm constantly out there. That's how you're doing it, right? If your team is recruiting and trying to pull people into what you guys are doing. I think the last one.
There's competition, marketplace, which is simultaneously how your clients perceive you.
Yeah.
Basically similar. Employees, potential employees. I think the last one was, once you earned positioning,
How do you keep it?
how do you keep it?
So, on keeping positioning, a lot of times it's like the example that I use, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, but like owning positioning is like owning a very valuable piece of real estate. Imagine that you own, a penthouse in a downtown area, right? Like that's a highly sought after piece of real estate. Okay. And if it's a valuable piece of real estate, that means that as soon as you sell it, it'd be very hard to get it back. And so for us, like, we always have to defend our positioning and always have to speak a different language than the marketplace. Right. It's like the common when people zig, you zag, right? And so for us, we're constantly looking at our positioning of like, cool, have a lot of people started copying us because we're doing things really well? Great. Like, if we're doing things well, that's awesome. But if there's too many people copying us, then it's probably going to tarnish the way that we're operating in our positioning. So we're going to shift that positioning. We're going to bring new offers to the table. Even if it's the same delivery, we're going to position the offer differently so we do stick out in the marketplace and can be different. Because once again, if you're just a commodity, you're not going to win. You're not going to win clients. And that positioning has to be defended constantly. So it's like, can you play the long game with your positioning and be able to watch what everyone else is doing and be able to shift according to the marketplace and what is the most saturated position versus, hey, what's just a little bit different? If I can get someone to look at my offer or my marketing material just a little differently, like, that's new. That's huge for you. Like, that's a win. That's what we're shooting for. I don't want to blend in with the marketplace. I don't want to be just another lead gen agency that works with med spas. It's like, I want people to say, oh yeah, like digital ox, those are the guys. That's the go-to every time without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we experienced this firsthand. Is like you trailblaze your path to becoming unique with really good positioning, and then you just have a wave of copycats, just basically replicating. And so, if anything, take it as a compliment. But you as the CEO, if you're not like, yo, what they're gonna try to catch up to what has been built. It's probably gonna take them 2 years, but we're already now looking at the next level of value that we're gonna introduce to the marketplace. I mean, I'm just talking about a product perspective too. Like, if we're always looking at the product and thinking, how do we make it more and more valuable, and we attack, like, it's pretty much, it seems like we're doing one major big additional value add per year just to get better and better and better, provide more and more.
Yeah.
That's also a way of now zigging and zagging, just based on the fact that, like, you're now offering X and the product just leveled up that much more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And this is like where you can look at, we call it like vertical integration. And I think this is something that you guys have done a good job of, like, how can we offer more and get a stickier service with the current marketplace that we're in, right? I don't know if you know.
Or a great way to look at it is, what super big hairy problem have we now additionally solved in the marketplace that no one else is solving?
Yeah.
Which is like, it's not just, hey, let's just do this just to do it, just to outposition. No, it's like, what is the next nasty problem in the market that no one's figured out yet? Let's get that, and then let's add that in. And then the value is just straight value. Like, there's no way to look around it. It's like, no, like, you guys are doing that now. That's fucking crazy.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, once you knock down one domino, the next one has to fall, right? So, I don't remember where I was going to go with that, but yeah, man. I mean, that's spot on. Oh, vertical integration, right? It's like you can vertically integrate further into businesses. Like you said, it's like, hey, what's the next domino that we have to knock over now that we've solved this problem? There's always the next level of problem, right? It's like any level of scale. The business that you're at $50,000 a month, it's not going to be the same problems that you're trying to fix at $100K per month. $100K, not going to be the same problems that you're going to be fixing at $300K, right? So as you're growing these businesses, what other bottlenecks are you creating by driving more leads, more business through the doors of your clients, right? That's your next level of positioning. And that's the next level of delivery that is needed for your clients.
And I think a lot, like, if you're probably asking yourself, well, damn, how do I avoid just constantly having to run away from my competition? I'd say, if you want to protect your positioning, I'd say the more difficult problems you solve, obviously you're going to take way more time to solve them once you introduce that to the market. And so you're basically creating a moat. So when you now are doing X, the new thing, but X was literally a 18-month project, that moat and that barrier between, like, someone just saying they can do that is almost impossible, because like, there's just no way you can just say that and do that. It's like, that was a internal, it was like we were going to war for 18 months to figure all that out, and now it's clicking. And so if you want to protect your positioning, just think about the harder the problem you solve, the more limited the competition. And so the higher you go in solving difficult problems, your positioning is going to be harder to just copycat.
Yep.
In a way, right?
Yeah. I mean, Hormozy talks about it all the time. Is like, I'm going to go where people can't follow, right? Like, I'm going to do the things people aren't willing to do. Why? Because they're hard, right? And so if you can do those things, like if you could do the hard things that no one else is willing to do, right? Which is normally the things that will give you the most return.
Yeah.
Love so, it. Yeah, I mean, and that's how you solidify a position. Do the things that other people aren't willing to do.
Boom. Let's talk about the event, because Josh holds super sick events. I met Josh at an event. That's why events are so, important to go to. But last event I went to, Josh had in Nashville, HYDRA event, super solid event. This next one coming up, is it April 20th?
Yeah, April 19th and 20th. We'll be here in Nashville again. And then we have one in London in October. But I guess like the premise of our events are a little bit different. I think most people listening have probably been to some sort of event, agency event, something like that. We keep it super small, 65 attendees total. It's very much like combination of like people get on stage and speak. Like we like that. Like there's nothing wrong with that. But it's like my biggest pet peeve about events has always been like it's just like information overload without any implementation. So we actually take time and do like some implementation with the people that are actually there. We'll have, everything from like Go High Level will be there, and like we'll have a booth set up with Go High Level where it's like, hey, you need help with your Go High Level account, like things aren't working, your automations suck, you have no nurture flows, great, our HYDRA team will be there and we will help you build that stuff in the room with you.
That's fire.
Yeah, like
I've never seen that before.
Yeah, like SOPs, like if you guys are struggling with like operations, SOP creation, setting up like an internal wiki, even some of your guys' like intellectual property and stuff. It's like if you guys need help with those things, we have time dedicated to building those things alongside with you. So it's a mixture of like, hey, we're going to get up on stage and kind of speak at you, right? And give you good information, but also time to implement and time to think and time to actually workshop with other awesome agency owners that are doing really big things. So yeah, check it out if it sounds interesting.
No, I mean, 100%. The other big factor too is the lineup is insane, but specifically one individual, the one who changed my life, probably changed Josh's life.
Mine as well.
Judge Graham. He literally, I haven't had a mentor since Judge Graham. We were at 100K, and then after working with him, just the mindset and the maturity of how we were going to take things just exploded. And so he's going to be there. This is someone who literally pretty much created what you see today. A lot of, I give a lot of credit to Judge and Matt. Like they turned me into a fucking man on how to think about things. And he's going to be there, guys. Speaking.
Yeah. And I will tell you, he does not do events often. I've asked for I've asked for the last 3 years, and he said no to the first 2. And then finally I wore him down. And he's like, yeah, I'll be there this year. He's like, let's do it.
Hell yeah.
It's like he's retired and spending a lot of time with his family, which is awesome. But to get in the room with someone like this who's built a multi 9-figure agency, I mean, those opportunities don't come around very often. So it's like it's good to be in a room where you have people that are going to push you and think bigger and hopefully shift your mindset a little bit, but also give you the tactical things needed to grow a great business.
Cool. So basically what we can do, Josh, we could pretty much post a link in this video. So they can get access.
And I'll even do like a discount code too. If you guys use, let's do like Digital Ox. By the time this video comes out, we'll have a coupon code live for you guys, but just type in Digital Ox. It'll get you a $500 discount on the event if you guys want to come out and you've been watching Stevie's content and Hunter's content for some time. We'll make sure you guys get hooked up on that side.
Sounds good, man. We'll see you guys there. Thanks for jumping on, Josh.
Yeah, of course, man. We'll see you guys. Peace.